Now the Spirit of the Lord is the one that speaks through me. Before my mother's womb, he ordained and knew me, ransomed me, and placed his words upon my tongue. Few are chosen, rest assured that I am one, an ambassador for Christ, his beloved son. And by his word, let souls be one. So welcome everyone to this listening party. Sit back and let your souls be hearty. Celebrate with me the gift that God has imparted. And what better way to get this party started than to give him the stage, because he knows where your heart is. Holy Spirit, you are welcome in this place. Give me the boldness to look upon each face and speak every word that you've given me to say. With no fear, I speak truth. I won't deviate, and I'm confident that all will go great. So let your presence saturate this place. I breathe in your spirit, I intake a river full of life, watering every dry place as I flow to the notes that heaven navigates. Let it bless every listener and free them today. Let the truth of your word draw souls to be saved. Let the comforter comfort hearts today, and let the light of your word show them the way. Every time I write, I tell his story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. He opens up to me and shows me his glory. He gives me the strength to keep on soaring, and when I open up my mouth, for him I'm roaring. And the Spirit of the Lord goes before me, to the captive set free, that's reassuring. Over the years he strengthened my inner core, and every day I wake up just seeking him more. Am I ready for this? In my spirit I'm sure I am in Christ, and my Father I adore. He redeemed me from destruction, I am his ambassador. As the world turns and open up the door, I step in with purpose to win souls for the Lord. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell the story as I bask in the truth of his word before me.
Hey, welcome to the Tom the Bomb Sports Talk, the fastest growing sports show in the world. It's Monday, December 30th, 2024, and this is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. If you don't think it's a great day, just try missing one. And we, Love, love sports on the Tom the Bomb Show. I'm your host, Tommy Wood, and we got another fantastic show for you guys today. Hey, gang, it's the last show in 2024. Uh, hey, here on the Tom the Bomb Show, we bring together my two passions, the Word of God and sports. We bring together the excitement of sports and strengthening our faith through the Word of God. So in every episode, we fill it with insightful sports commentary and from a Christian perspective point of view, okay? Reminding you that how we win in life truly matters. Our mission on the Tom Bomb Show is to spread the word of God. And that's what we do. That's what we're called to do. And that's what we do. Try to do it. Every show reflects our commitment to sharing biblical truths, offering hope and encouragement through scripture. If it's relevant to the people, it's relevant on the Tom the Bomb Show. We address significant social issues and problems, and we provide guidance that is based on Christian principles in order to assist individuals in navigating the challenges that life brings us on a daily basis. Okay. Alrighty. Now, as usual, we want to start off by thanking God for all the wonderful things that He's done for us, and especially in 2024. Like I said, this is the last show of the year, coming up on our 4-year anniversary here on the Town of Bomb Show. Hey, how about that? Our theme for the year has been the year of fixed purpose, and we've taken that from Proverbs 4:25. It says, "Set your gaze on the path before you, with fixed purpose, looking straight ahead, ignoring life's distractions." Keeping our eyes on the path and looking straight ahead is what's going to allow us to ignore life's daily distractions. The Bible tells us that the enemy comes for the word immediately. Okay, it's not Tom the Bomb. It's not even you. It's the word of God that the enemy comes for immediately, because he doesn't want that word to take root in your life so that you can become a true disciple of the Lord Jesus Christ. And if you guys haven't seen the movie The Forge, I encourage you. They talk about being discipled. So that's a good movie you guys want to check out. Hey, gang, our show is live. The call-in number here is 301-655-9992. That's 301-655-9992. Or you can join us live on Facebook, and you can catch us on YouTube now. Hit that like and subscribe button at Tom the Bomb Sports Talk, and on Spotify in your car, your smartphone, or your iPad under the same name. You can also contact us by email at info@tomthebombsports.com, or you can go to our website at www.tomthebombsports.com to contact us and pick up your Tom the Bomb gear that's coming to you in 2025, which is a couple of days away, right, Lori? Hey, we got trivia today. Do we have trivia today? No, we don't have trivia today, but we do have poll questions. We definitely got poll questions. As a matter of fact, instead of having trivia, what we got for you is we got 2 poll questions for you guys today. So here's so we kind of got them out early on social media, so you guys can kind of get a look at them, and so you guys can either respond directly on Facebook or YouTube, or you can shoot it to us in an email at info@tombombsports.com. So let's get to our poll questions. The poll question today is, okay, we're in week 18. Who's your NFL MVP? Who's your NFL MVP? Is it, and I want you guys, like I said, to vote. Is it the Bills, Josh Allen? Is it the Ravens, Lamar Jackson? Is it the Eagles, Saquon Barkley? Or is it the Bengals, Joe Burrow? Or is it the Vikings, Sam Darnold? And I think we actually need to go ahead and include the Lions, Jared Goff. Okay, so that's today's poll question. We're in week 18. Who's your NFL MVP? Like I said, get your ballots out and vote now and often. That's number 1, the Bills, Josh Allen. Number 2, the Ravens, Lamar Jackson. Number 3, the Eagles, Saquon Barkley. Number 4, the Bengals, Joe Burrow. Number 5, the Vikings, Sam Darnold. Or number 6, the Lions, Jared Goff. And let's throw our second question in there. Our second poll question is, Saquon Barkley hit the 2,000-yard mark yesterday against our beloved Dallas Cowboys. Right. So the poll question is, the Eagles have already clinched the spot in the playoffs. Should the Eagles let Saquon go for the record of 2,105 yards and break Eric Dickerson's record? Okay, so that's the poll question. Who's your MVP, and who should the Eagles let Saquon Barkley go for the record? You know what? We're jumping into this right now. Let's get it. We're jumping into this right now. Let's start off with the Bills' Josh Allen. Josh Allen has had his very, very best year ever he's had his best year ever as a professional football player. And unlike a lot of years, there's so many legitimate candidates. Josh Allen has done everything right to win this award this year, and most people have him labeled as the front runner. What do you guys think? Is it Josh Allen? Number 2, we got Lamar Jackson. Now, Lamar Jackson is a 2-time MVP. He's already won the MVP 2 times, and people don't like it. Kind of reminds me of like when you remember when Tom Hanks was winning the Oscar like every year. He won it for the Philadelphia, and then Forrest Gump came out. And how could he not win it for Forrest? You know what I'm saying? But then right after that, he came up with the war movie. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. Saving Private Ryan. He was excellent in that and deserving. But they just don't like to give you that award 3 years in a row. And I think that's the main thing that's going against Lamar, because here's the deal. Lamar is a 2-time MVP, And this year is his best year ever in the NFL. So he already won 2 MVP awards, and what he's doing right now in 2024 is better than anything that he's ever done before. I mean, it's amazing with the yardage and the rushing yards, going to rush for over 1,000 yards, the amount of touchdowns. He's developed more in the pocket. Uh, Man, it's like how do you not give it to Lamar when he's topped the 2 previous MVP years that he's already had? That's Lamar Jackson. Well, listen, if we're just going to talk stats, then if we're just talking stats, then you got to talk about Joe Burrow if you're just talking stats, because as great a year as Josh Allen is having statistically, and as great a year as Lamar Jackson is having statistically, and Lamar is having a phenomenal year, Joe Burrow has better stats than both of them. he's he's got better stats than both of them. What's hurting Joe Burrow is that his Bengals may not even make the playoffs. They may not even make the playoffs. So how are you going to give the MVP to a guy whose team who doesn't even make the playoff? It's happened before. I watched Andre Dawson win the MVP in Major League Baseball, and he played for the Cubs, and they finished in last place. It was like, how did the MVP is on a last place team? It's been done. There's precedent for it. So, if you're just going to talk stats, then you could pick Joe Burrow. They had something on the NFL channel last night. They had put up 3 different like ghost figures. You couldn't tell who the pitcher was, and they just had their stats up under each ghost figure. You didn't know who the ghost figure was, and they put the stats up, and they asked the question, according to these stats, tell us who the MVP is. And everybody picked the guy to the left. The guy to the left was Joe Burrow, because his stats are better than Josh Allen, and his stats are better than Lamar Jackson, and both of them are having phenomenal years. Okay, well, if we're just going to talk stats, what happens when Saquon Barkley breaks Eric Dickerson's record and rushed for over 2,105 yards? How do you not give it to Saquon Barkley if he breaks the all-time NFL rushing record? Well, newsflash, the year that Eric Dickerson set that record, 2,105 yards, he didn't win MVP either. If you can remember, what's the quarterback for the Miami Dolphins?
Greasy.
No, Dan Marino. Thank you, Lori. That's Lori. I tell you, Lori got y'all fooled, man, because she don't know stats. Lori got y'all fooled. Dan Marino won the MVP in 84. That's the year that he threw over 4,000 yards and he threw 48 touchdowns, and he's the first quarterback to do that. So the year that Eric Dickerson set that rushing record, he didn't win MVP. Well, so what do you say? Well, is it just a quarterback award? So one of the arguments is the MVP the most valuable player, because they also have an award for the best offensive player. So sometimes they're the same and sometimes they're not. So if Saquon Barkley doesn't win the MVP, if and when he breaks the record, because he only needs 101 yards, then he surely should be NFL Offensive Player of the Year. What do you guys think? It's some really, really good arguments. And like I said, there's so many deserving candidates. Then you got the Vikings, Sam Darnold. Man, let's talk about that. Okay, Tom the Bomb has been telling you guys that the Vikings are doing it with smoke and mirrors. And when we took our picks last week, Tom the Bomb picked the Packers over the Vikings. Wrong. The Vikings stepped up and did it to him again. Listen, man, you can't be 14-2 and be doing it with smoke and mirrors. You can't. And what's the difference? Okay, first of all, I'm getting ahead of myself, but the Vikings are winning because they have the best offensive head. They got the best head coach. They got the best offensive coach, and they got the best defensive coach in the NFL. And coaching matters in the NFL. And man, Sam Darnold has fit into this system perfectly. We talk about this on the Tom the Bomb Show all the time. It's so important that a quarterback be in the right system. And if you watch the highlights yesterday, here's what I really, really like and I really, really love. That Minnesota Viking team adores Sam Darnold. And I'm going to tell you, one of the reasons they adore him is he's not the diva quarterback like a Russell Wilson who has to have his own office separate from the team. No. These Viking players love Sam Darnold. They showered him in like a champagne parade yesterday. And I think one of the reasons is, most of the guys in the NFL are what you call lunch pail type of guys. They they're blue collar. They grind every day, and they see Sam as that same kind of guy. They see Sam as a regular everyday guy who's kind of been dogged out in the NFL. Because when a quarterback gets in the wrong system, he can look horrible, even though he's actually a pretty decent quarterback, but he's in the wrong system. And I think his teammates really, really appreciate that, and they are uplifting him at every turn. So, Sam Darnold should be getting some considerations for MVP. And then lastly, you got the Lions, Jared Goff. And man, he's just quietly checking off all the boxes. All the boxes. He's won a Super Bowl. He's a Super Bowl winning champion. I'm sorry, he's not a Super Bowl winning champion. The Rams, he did, but he's been to the Super Bowl. But Jared is just quietly checking off all the boxes. So this year, I think is going to be the most difficult year ever to pick out the NFL MVP. So we want to hear from you guys. We want to know what you think. Is it Josh Allen of the Bills? Is it the Ravens, Lamar Jackson? Is it the Eagles, Saquon Barkley? Is it the Bengals, Joe Burrow? Is it the Vikings, Sam Darnold? Or is it the Lions, Jared Goff? That's legitimate. And our other poll question we're going to get back to a little bit later about should the Eagles let Saquon go for it. We're going to get into that. Hey, gang, what are we watching tonight? What are we watching tonight? Tonight, we've got the Lions versus my San Francisco 49ers at 8:15 p.m. Eastern time. Remember, I told you guys last week when they were setting this game up, they go, wow, we're going to have a really, really good game. But, like I said, look, these were the two teams in the NFC Championship game last year. And you go, we've got the Lions and the 49ers set up for the last Monday night. Lions and Tigers and Bears. Oh, it's going to be such a great game. Well, my 49ers fell down, so we don't know, but I tell you what, let's see if they have any pride. This game is important for the Lions because they're still shooting for the #1 seed. So the Lions should be on their A game. Tom the Bomb picked the Lions to win this game, but let's see if my 49ers got any heart in them and see if they'll get up and fight this game. So, hey gang, let's move on. Let's jump right into our highlights and let's get into our first game. But Mother Wiggs, Kansas City Chiefs. Let's jump right in that. Mother Wiggs, Kansas City Chiefs have locked up the #1 seed in the AFC, smacking down the Steelers, smacking down the Steelers 29-10 on Christmas Day. Michael Jordan, Patrick Mahomes, went 29 for 38 and threw for 320 yards and 3 TDs. The Chiefs also set a team record with 15 wins on the season, the most in team history. The big giant message board announced, hey, we like number 15 around here. Yeah, I bet you do. As Mother Wiggs Chiefs are seriously eyeing NFL's first ever Super Bowl three-peat. Mistakes cost the Steelers this game easily. If you're going to beat the champs, you got to take advantage of your opportunities. The Steelers seem to miss every opportunity. It's real easy to point to their terrible interception that Russell Wilson threw in the red zone. But I think even a bigger play was when it was 3rd and 5 on the Chiefs' 12-yard line, and the Steelers at this time they're trailing 16-7, and a TD gets them back into this game, with Russell Wilson staring down George Pickens on a backside fade, wanting to force the ball to Pickens when he had 3 other receivers, Mike Williams on a crossing route, tight end Pat Freiermuth, man, he's got a funny name, Freiermuth. He was open down the seam, and wide receiver Calvin Austin III was in the bottom corner, and Russ didn't see him. All missed by Russell Wilson. It was a critical miss on at least, they at least would have got a first down, if not a touchdown, and ended up turning into a sack and another field goal. Listen, you can't beat the Kansas City Chiefs kicking field goals. When are these teams gonna learn that? Of course, Kansas City followed up by driving the length of the field and punching it in, showing the Steelers, hey, this is how you do it. This is how you do it, okay? Pittsburgh red zone offense has been struggling all year. And then after the terrible red zone interception on the next series, the Steelers dropped an interception of their own, which would have given them the ball right back in the red zone. I'm like, you can't beat the champs if you don't take advantage of your opportunities. And look out. Kansas City is now playing their best ball of the season late in December when it matters the most. They're listen. Mother Wiggs Chiefs are gonna roast the Bills in the playoffs. I'm telling you guys ahead of time. Well, they may not even play Tom the Bomb. When they play, the Chiefs are gonna roast them. Russ is holding on to the ball too long in Pittsburgh. For the and just for the record, Terry Bradshaw says that the Chiefs won't three-peat, but that's Terry Bradshaw. That's what Terry Bradshaw said. But hey, that's our thoughts on that. Laura, you got any thoughts on the Chiefs and Steelers?
I think the Chiefs will be the champs.
Oh, you hear that, Mother Wig? Your sister agrees with you. She says she thinks the Chiefs are going to be the champs. Let's move on to our next game, our next Christmas Day game. I believe it was the Ravens versus the Houston Texans. Yep. Now the Ravens took a shorthanded Texans team to the woodshed. That's basically what happened. 31-2, as Lamar Jackson did nothing. He did nothing to hurt his MVP season. But the key was 27 carries for Derrick Henry for 147 yards rushing and a TD. Lamar's numbers may seem pedestrian he went 10 for 15 for 168 and 2 TDs. But listen to me. When you control the time of possession with a ball control offense, riding King Henry, that's the recipe for a Super Bowl winner for Baltimore. Let's see if they'll keep riding King Henry to the Super Bowl. The Texans looked crippled heading into the playoffs. Their promising season looks like it will be pretty much one and done in the playoffs for the Texans. And it's kind of sad because when the season started, they made some great offseason moves. They really brought in some great skill players like Stephon Diggs to pair up with Nico Collins. And, they brought in, they lost a running back, but they brought in another good running back. They made a lot of good moves. What they didn't do was that they didn't shore up their offensive line. And, we say this on the Tom the Bomb show all the time. Football is a very, very simple game. You have to block. You have to tackle. You have to be able to run the ball. You have to be able to stop the other team from running the ball. You got to convert on third downs, and you got to get off the field on third down. And all of that is triggered from the trenches. If you win in the trenches, for the most part, you're going to win the game. And they made a lot of great off-season acquisitions, but they did not shore up that offensive line. And people think, well, C.J. Stroud had such a phenomenal rookie season, but he's not this good in his sophomore season. That's because nobody's blocking for him. They're killing C.J. back there. And it's only because of his poise and his presence that the Texans were still able to win their division, and they're still going to be in the playoffs. But, being a Houston Texan fan, they're one and done. They're done, Lori. Let's get to our next game. Sorry, Texans. Okay, so our next game, our next game was a snoozer as the Seahawks beat the tanking Bears 6-3 in a thrilling baseball game. Being really, really nice, there was nothing to talk about in this game other than it was the lowest scoring game of the season. As commentator Al Michaels joked that the Seattle Mariners had beat the Chicago White Sox 6-3 earlier in the Major League season. And then that's what happened to see. Well, what we'll talk about though, here's what we'll talk about. Let's talk about the greed of the NFL owners forcing this extra game to 18 on the season. I believe it's led to more injuries because the loss of preseason games, and the extended season is leading to more injuries and worst meaningless games like this one. This was an absolute snoozer, and I'm gonna leave that at there. Let's move on to our next game. The next game was the Chargers announced their presence with authority.
Cost and quality, you simply cannot do better than Window Nation. For about half the cost of national brands, you get equal if not better quality, saving you thousands of dollars. Right now, get 2 free windows with every 2 you buy. There's no limit. Plus, put no money down, make no payments, and pay no interest for 24 months. Get a free in-home estimate and we'll give you a free gas card. Go to windownation.com for additional details or call 866-95-NATION.
Cortez, Danzante Bay is a pure and peaceful oasis, an uncrowded retreat where your options are as vast as your views. If you're seeking a vacation that defines luxury and the true relaxation, look no further than Villa del Palmar at the Islands of Loreto. A splendor of true Mexican hospitality effortlessly blends with rich materials and insatiable comforts to bring guests the ideal home away from home experience. With its quiet beaches, scenic vistas, rich history, and an astounding surrounding natural habitat, you'll feel as though you've been swept off to paradise. Not to be outdone, Reese Jones has crafted TPC Danzante Bay, a brilliant, multi-themed 18-hole golf course that runs over and through valleys, arroyos, dunes, and foothills. From every angle, striking images of the islands of Loreto and the surrounding mountain range take your breath away, while the challenging yet rewarding Baja Golf Course beckons you to return for more. It is an honor and my pleasure to welcome you to the world's most beautiful sunset and so much more.
And we're back. Look. Tom the Bomb was all juiced up. Lori had to reel me in. I got that tea going. I'm a little jumpy with my caffeine. Lori said, "Ooh, big fella." Let's move on to our next game. Our next game was the Chargers versus the Patriots. And the Chargers, as I was saying, announced their presence with authority, spanking the Patriots 40-7. That's what you get, Eddie, to punch their ticket to the playoffs. Rookie sensation Ladd McConkey torched the Patriots with 8 catches for 94 yards and 2 TDs. Should have had 3 TDs as the Chargers scored on 7 consecutive possessions. McConkey has set a Chargers rookie record for receptions with 76 receptions and 1,054 yards. The only bad report was that wide receiver Josh Palmer was in a walking boot when the game was over. For the Chargers, at this point of the season, that's it. Now, for the Pats, they're just trying to see who they're going to be keeping for the next season and who they're going to be letting go. Because of some things have happened, the Pats have moved up. I think they're the number 1 draft choice now because of some crazy things that other teams have done. We're going to get to that in just a second. Okay, let's get to our next game. Our next game is the Broncos versus the Bengals. And I told you guys and gals, that the Broncos and the Bengals would be one of the best games of the week, if not the best game of the week. And they did not disappoint, with both teams playing for their playoffs live. Playoffs, yep, their playoff lives. The intensity was there. And as Tom the Bomb predicted, the Bengals came away with the victory after seriously trying to give it back to the Broncos, okay? The Bengals managed to hold on for an overtime win, 30-24, in a very entertaining game. MVP candidate Joe Burrow lit it up for 412 yards passing and 3 TDs. It was 2006, the last time a non-NFL QB won the MVP. It was LaDainian Tomlinson. Now, Joe Burrow now leads the NFL in completed passes with 423. He leads the league in yardage with 4,642 yards, and he leads the league in touchdowns with 42 touchdowns. That's the triple crown. And that's what I'm talking about with Burrow. Burrow moved into rarefied air as he's had 9 games with 300 yards passing, with at least 300 yards passing and at least 3 TDs. Impressive, Skywalker. With all-world Jamar Chase on the other side, and T. Higgins torched the Broncos defense for 11 catches for 131 yards and 3 TDs. Marvin Mims Jr. had a great game for the Broncos with 8 receptions for 103 yards and 2 TDs, with the last one being a spectacular grab over 2 Bengals defenders with just 8 seconds left in regulation to force the overtime. Now, Bo Nix, he's keeping the pressure on Jayden Daniels for the Rookie of the Year. He went 24 for 31 for 219 yards and 3 TDs and 1 interception before he got knocked out with a concussion. A win or a tie would have gotten the Broncos into the playoffs, but for the second week in a row, they did not get it done. Man, the Broncos are going to be kicking themselves if they don't make it into the playoffs. This is the 3rd week where all they had to do was get a win or a tie, and they're in. Man, coaching matters in the NFL, and it's amazing watching these games and seeing the bad coaching that's costing these teams games. It's just absolutely amazing. Alrighty, let's get to our next game. And we're coming back live. I told you guys that was going to be a good game with the Bengals and the Broncos, and it really, really was. Great game. Let's move on to our next game. Alrighty, our next game is another snoozer. Like I said, the Rams beat the Cardinals 13-9. It's amazing how bad some of these games are. Some are unwatchable. Ever since the Rams offense went to LA Showtime on the Buffalo Bills in that shootout win, the offense has been missing in action. Thankfully, the Rams defense has put them on their back and carried the load to put them on the brink of an NFC West title. Now, the Rams defense has held 3 straight opponents under 10 points, which hasn't been done in 10 years. Okay. The Rams are like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. Okay. They're very Jekyll and Hyde. They could be a team you don't want to meet in the playoffs, or they could easily be one and done, just like the Texans. Okay. The Rams, let me tell you who the Rams are. The Rams are the Cincinnati Bengals of the NFC, with Matthew Stafford at quarterback and Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp at wide receiver. It's just like facing Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Those combinations, those 3 combinations, it's scary. It's scary enough to where the Rams or the Bengals can upset any team in the NFL because of the talent that they have, So, you just don't, the Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals are the same team. They're 2 teams that people aren't going to want to face. All righty, let's move on to our next game. Our next game was Dwayne Taylor's Philadelphia Eagles versus Daddy Rich, Dallas Cowboys. All right, the Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? The Eagles destroyed the Dallas Cowboys again, 41-7, scoring 89 points in their 2 meetings this year. That's quite embarrassing for the Cowboys. With Jalen Hurts still on the shelf, the spotlight was clearly on Saquon Barkley, and he didn't disappoint. On his quest for 2,000 yards and a run at Eric Dickerson's NFL rushing record, Barkley rushed for 167 yards on 31 carries. Now, the bigger news, which is like getting to our poll question, the bigger news is that the Eagles clinched the NFC East, and for the first time in 20 years, we have a repeat champion in the NFC East. Formerly known as the NFC Least, has changed, and maybe they're turning back into the NFC beast with the sudden resurgence of the Washington Commanders. Okay, if they could just somehow deport the Giants, they'd officially be back. Okay, but back to the main story. Saquon Barkley became the 9th player to rush for 2,000 yards in a season. Barkley's first season in Philly is one for the books, the history books. Okay, can you believe that the Giants let this happen? Let me just pause for a quick second. Lori and I was looking at a clip earlier today. You guys know that store Hard Knocks, the show that they do on HBO, Hard Knocks. They did a Hard Knocks special on the Giants, and they were actually in the room when the GM and the owner and all of their management was in the room, and they was talking about whether they were going to keep Saquon Barkley or not. And the GM, the guy who's pulling the trigger on it, he's like, well, why should we give a running back $12 million that's 27 years old? Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes is our guy. We just gave our quarterback $40 million. We want to give a 27-year-old running back $12 million? $12 million. They didn't want to give him. And wait a minute. And then the owner stood up and said, and you can check this out. It's on Hard Knocks. And the owner stood up and said, if Saquon goes to Philadelphia, I'm going to have a lot of sleepless nights about that. Lori said, this guy ain't slept in a long time. But the stupidity, and this is recorded forever. Everybody in that room should be fired with the exception of the owner. I mean, the owner was the only one that spoke up. He was like, Saquon's the leader of our team. He's the most popular player on the team. But what I'll give the owner credit for is that he is not Jerry Jones, and he did not override his GM. He voiced his opinion because the owner seemed to be the only person in that room wanting to keep Saquon Barkley, and everybody else in that room was like, he's 27, he's 27-year-old running back. We don't want to give him $12 million. Man, everybody in the Giants organization ought to find that. Well, don't say that, Tom DePalma. You know what I mean. But it was terrible. It was terrible. You guys got to go check that out. Hard Knock with the Giants. And they all sit in that room talking about how they don't want to bring our best player back. We're going with Daniel Jones, who, by the way, they cut. And he's not even on the team, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. How do these people get these jobs in football and they don't know nothing about football? Listen, a quarterback's best friend is a running game and a good defense. And you're talking about supporting Daniel Jones and getting rid of the best running game. Saquon Barkley has been one of the best running backs in all of the NFL since he joined the NFL. He's just had the misfortune of playing for the Giants. Okay, so getting back to the story. Okay, Barkley ended the day at 2,005 yards with one game to go. Barkley only needs 100 yards to tie Eric Dickerson, and he needs 101 yards to be the new king. Really? For me, there's two ways to look at this. You could say, well, Barkley has played one more game than Eric Dickerson to break his record of 2,105 yards. And, that's true, okay? But the NFL has drastically changed since 1984. In 1984, every team had a bell cow back that got the ball 20 to 25 times per game. In 2024, that is rarefied air. It's rare and unheard of in this pass-happy NFL today. The proof is in the rookie receiving records and the amount of 4,000-yard quarterback passers that we have in the league now. To me, that makes what Barkley has done very impressive. Also, the fact that this is Barkley's first season in Philadelphia. You can come back to me. This first season in Philadelphia, learning a new playbook with new teammates and, meshing his style with the Eagles offensive line. Eric Dickerson's line loved him, and they had been with him from the time he was his rookie year with the Rams. So Barkley has had the greatest season for debuting free agent acquisition, and He's also the first of the 8 previous 2,000-yard rushers to do it with their second team. Okay, so the big question, getting to our poll question, is with the NFC title sold up and a playoff berth clinched, do you play or do you sit Saquon Barkley next week against the Giants? You play him? Do you let him play, Lori?
Absolutely.
Lori says absolutely. Lori says absolutely. Okay. First of all, I believe that the Eagles fans will riot if they don't let Saquon Barkley go for the record. Second, it's against the Giants, the team that didn't want to pay him, but paid Danny Dimes $40 million, but not the heart and soul of the team. Third, Saquon Barkley, who has been injury prone in the past, if he gets hurt before the playoffs, that would be bad. That would be unbelievably bad luck. So what do you do? What a quandary. Okay, that's our poll question. Do you guys play Barkley or do you sit him? Lori says, yeah, playing. What do you guys think out there? That's our second poll question. We want you guys to let us know on Facebook and YouTube. Should the Giants let Saquon Barkley go? Do you play him? He needs 101 yards to set the record. And then if he breaks Eric Dickerson's record, does that get him the MVP? We will see. We will see. Let's move on. Okay. Now, like I told you guys and gals last week, that the Bucs would bounce back. The Bucs would bounce back with a vengeance after their disappointing loss to the Dallas Cowboys last week. They punished the Carolina Panthers 48-14 as Baker Mayfield lit the Panthers up, going 27 for 32 for 359 yards passing and 5 TDs. Bucky Irvin pitched in with 113-yard rushing on 20 carries. And trusty old Mike Evans had 8 catches for 97 yards and 2 TDs receiving. Now, playing for their playoff lives, the Bucs came in super focused, unlike a week ago in Dallas. Now, also, I want to mention impressively, rookie Bucky Irving has rushed for 1,033 yards, primarily as a backup. Bucky Irvin is Rashad White's backup, so he hasn't even been a starter, and he's rushed for 1,000 yards. Since the Panthers released Baker Mayfield's gone 4-0 against them. He's 27 for 32 passing without an interception against the Carolina Panthers. Man, you think these guys don't have chips on their shoulders? That's why I think that the Giants are in trouble next week, because Saquon Barkley is going back for the record against the Giants. And here's the other thing. That Eagles offensive line, everybody on the Eagles team wants Saquon to get this record. Man, they're going to go in there and they're going to light the Giants up. And just like Baker Mayfield has lit up the Carolina Panthers every time he's seen them, look for Saquon Barkley. I don't think he's going to have his biggest game of the year, because I think once he gets the record, I think I'll hold him out. What do you think, Lori? Yes or no? I'm trying, Nat Wood, I'm trying to pull her in, man. I'm trying to pull her in, okay? Let's move on to the next game. The next game is the Bills. The Bills trap game was last week. Just like the Bucs, they came in focused for the Jets, which meant the Jets had a snowball's chance in hell. That's what the Jets had. Okay, the Bills punished them 40-14, clinching the number 2 seed in the AFC playoffs. MVP candidate Josh Allen tied Thurman Thomas for the most TDs in Bills history with his 65th TD touchdown. The Jets were, you fill in the blank. The Jets were pathetic, embarrassing, humiliating. You pick the adjective to describe their play on Sunday, or all of the above. Okay, I think they were all of the above. This team was done when Aaron Rodgers hijacked their preseason with his trip to Egypt. Okay, their whole season was done. This game was basically, it was the varsity versus the JV. The only good news for the Jets is there's only one more game left in the season. That's the good news. That's the good news. And that's all I'm going to say about that since we're working on our Forrest Gump thing. All right, let's move on to that. Now, the Giants, with the number one pick in the upcoming NFL draft, did the unthinkable, and beat the Indianapolis Colts 45-33. Wow. Man, the Giants haven't scored 45 points in 2 years combined. It's when it rains, it pours. That's terrible, okay? It's a terrible organization. They got no business winning this game. I think some of these teams don't want the number one draft because they don't want to draft Shedeur Sanders. What do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about that? What should have been a snoozer turned into a track meet with two backup quarterbacks throwing for over 300 yards each with 6 touchdown passes. I'd be willing to bet that that's never happened before in the history of the NFL. 2 backup quarterbacks? I'm going to have to do my research and I'll get back to you. Now, the Giants now had the number one pick, and their number one pick, star Malik Nabers, lit up the stats with 7 catches for 171 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Giants ended a franchise record 10-game losing streak and prevented the Giants from becoming the first team in NFL history to go 0-9 at home in a season. The Giants fall to the number 3 or number 4 spot in the draft currently. They could get lucky if Travis Hunter falls to the number 3 after the 2 QBs, Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward, projected to go 1 and 2 in the upcoming draft. As of now, the Patriots have the number 1 pick so far, which is a beautiful thing because they already have their franchise quarterback in Drake May. So the Patriots, they could trade down and still get Travis Hunter, which is the player that they need the most. Okay. Jonathan Taylor continued his stellar play with 125 yards rushing on 32 carries. And Alec Pierce has come out of nowhere and has emerged as the new number 1 receiver for the Indianapolis Colts. He had 6 catches for 112 yards and a TD. All right, let's move on. Our next game is the Raiders have lost their mind. They need a QB like you and I need water and air to live. And they have won for the 2nd week in a row, beating the Saints 25-10. What is wrong with these guys? Brock Bowers continues to impress and should be given serious Rookie of the Year consideration as he has broken multiple records, okay? Brock Bowers broke Mike Ditka. Who you say? Mike Ditka's 63-year-old rookie tight end record. His record still for 63 years. Can you believe that? With 1,077 yards. Although Ditka did it in 14 games, Bowers also broke Puka Nacua. I just love saying that. Broke Puka Nacua's reception record of 105 receptions. Bowers now has 107 and set just last year, like I said, with 105 receptions. Let's move on to our next game. That's all we need to really talk about that. Next, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay, the Jaguars beat the Titans 20-13 in another game that no one should be made to watch unless you live in Jacksonville or Tennessee. The Titans are the big winners in this one, moving up to the number 2 draft pick with the loss. Remember, the team that loses wins, and the team that wins loses. Okay, the Titans are looking to move off of Will Levis and are coveting, I'm almost say lusting after Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. If they can just stand pat, they'll get their Christmas wish. Okay, there will be major changes in Jacksonville from coaching to management. I guess it helps to be playing a divisional rival that you don't like to motivate you for that win. You know, the Jaguars and the Colts, that is a divisional rival game, and they really don't like each other, and they really, really do go at it. So, you know, maybe that was a deal on there. Our next game, moving on, was the Miami Dolphins versus the Cleveland Browns. Let me pull this up real quick. All righty. And the Cleveland Browns and the Dolphins won this one 20-3, like I told you guys they would. Checking the stats here. The Dolphins need help to get into the playoffs. Uh, and they're on the outside looking in. As usual, they've made their push too late, too little, too late. Okay, and this was Miami, like I said, still has a slim playoff hope. So you knew that they would win this game, having something to play. And the Browns, like I said, the Browns are in that game where when they lose, they win because they move up in the draft. So you had the Dolphins playing to their peak, trying to sneak into the playoffs, and then you had the Browns doing what they do in Cleveland. Yeah, right. But of these two teams, the Browns are the big winners because they've moved up in the draft because of the stupidity of the New York Giants and the Las Vegas Raiders. So the Browns really are the big winner in this game. Let's get to our next game, the Packers versus the Vikings, and this was the game that I told you guys would probably be the best game of the week, with the exception of the Broncos and the Bengals, which was really a good game. And man, I tell you, Tom the Bomb took the Packers in this game, and Tom the Bomb was off, because man, the Vikings, man, listen, man, the Vikings are the best coach team in the NFL. They're just coached better than everybody else. Sam Darnold, we've been talking about Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold lit it up. Sam Darnold was 33 for 43 for 377 yards and 3 TDs and 1 interception. Aaron Jones had 47 yards. Justin Jefferson had 8 receptions for 92 yards. But the one reception that he had, which is it was Odell Beckham-like. It was just unbelievable, and it got wiped out because they got a penalty on the play. But it was an unbelievable reception. And what I really liking about this Vikings team, Troy said that the Vikings have the 2 best tandem receivers in the league in Justin Jefferson and Reed. But it's not. I love the fact that Sam Darnold is not forcing the ball to Justin Jefferson. He's going to the open man. I think he threw to 8 different receivers yesterday against the Packers. And man, he is thriving in this system. And the Minnesota Vikings head coach, he is the quarterback whisperer, man, because Sam Darnold has never, ever in his life looked this good. Sam Darnold they signed and brought Sam Darnold in as a backup. And next year, Sam Darnold's going to make $50 million. Boy, you're talking about taking advantage of your opportunities. Remember early in the show, we were talking about the Steelers not taking advantage against the Chiefs. Man, Sam Darnold is taking advantage of his opportunities, man. And listen, man, this game here, because I know that the Green Bay Packers are a good football team. I know that's a good football team. And the Vikings have beat them twice now. You're not beating a really good football team twice with smoke and mirrors. So Tom the Bomb's been wrong. I'm finally jumping on the bandwagon, and the Vikings are the real deal. And it's all because Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold has always said Sam Darnold was a number 1 draft pick. You're not. When you're a number 1 draft pick, a lot of people think really highly of you. It's just that he came in as a number 1, and people said he was a bust. But think about this. The Jets drafted him. Come on, man. The Jets haven't had a quarterback since Joe Willie Namath. Come on, man. They keep getting these retreads. They got Brett Favre when he was past his time, and now they got another guy from Green Bay. I can't think of his name. Starts with 2 A's. Aaron Diva Rodgers, but he came in with the Jets. Come on, man. The Jets have ruined more quarterbacks than maybe the Bears. The Bears may be the only other team that has ruined more quarterbacks than the Jets. But he's in the right system, and this team is clicking, and they're so well coached. I heard something last night because a popular offense that's going in the NFL now is called the West Coast offense. Well, the defensive coach for the Vikings says, I have the East Coast defense. And the East Coast defense is designed to stop the West Coast offense. Now, keep in mind, the defensive coordinator for Vikings, this is the same guy that got fired in Miami because they wanted him to tank games and he wouldn't do it. Same guy. And, I thought, literally, to be honest with you, I thought they were going to blackball him out of the NFL. You can come back to me. I thought they were going to blackball him out of the NFL but it didn't happen. No, you can come back to me. But it didn't happen. And real quick, I just want to talk a little bit about the Packers. Let's talk about Jordan Love. Jordan Love. Jordan Love. Jordan Love is an extreme talent. He's an extreme talent, but Jordan Love is inconsistent. And I've watched Jordan Love, and it's like every game is the same way. He starts off really, really slow. And it's like he makes mistakes early, and then by the time the third and fourth quarter roll around, he's red hot and he lights you up. And the Packers almost came back and won this game, but Jordan Love, if he's got to be more consistent. He's got to play more on an even, especially at the quarterback position. I mean, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but if you watch the rookie Jaden Daniels of the Washington Commanders, that kid is even level all the time. He's as good in the first quarter as he is in the second half, and that's where Jordan Love has got to get to, because Jordan Love is at the end of the game, he's as hot as anybody. And the Packers almost came back and won that game against the Vikings, but they keep getting off to these slow starts with Jordan Love, and he's just got to be more consistent. He's got to play better. All right, let's go to our next game. Let's get to the game that everybody's tuning in for: our Washington Commanders versus the Atlanta Falcons. Listen, wait. Tom the Bomb's Washington Commanders. I can see Troy saying, "You ain't no Commanders fan." Dad, Papa, I'm a convert. I've seen the light. I'm saved. Man, this game was. I like Jaden Daniels, and like I said, when Washington isn't playing my team, which is the 49ers, I root for Washington. But I'm gonna tell you something, man. It's hard to be a Washington Commanders fan, man, because even when they are winning, and they haven't won in 20, 30 years, but they're winning, but man, they are just flat out frustrating, man. Listen, this number 5, Nat Woods telling me that Bo Nix is pressing him, that they got to win out. No, man. Jaden Daniels is the rookie of the year. This guy, and I told you guys earlier in the year, his number one key quality is his poise. This kid is cool like the other side of the pillow. Booyah! I had to get a Stu reference in there. Lauren was telling me I need to do more Stu references. Booyah! But this guy's cool on the other side of the pillow, man. He just, and I'm watching this game, and I had so many different observations. Felix, check in with me. I had so many observations in this game. But the bottom line was, this kid, Jaden Daniels, he put this team on his back and said, "We are not going to lose." I'm sitting here watching the game, and I said, if Washington's going to win this game, he's got to start running more. This guy ran for 125 yards last night from the quarterback position. 125. He broke RG3's record for passing and rushing yards. I think he's going to rush for 1,000 yards from the quarterback position. We haven't seen that since Michael Vick and Randall Cunningham and Lamar Jackson's done, and Lamar Jackson. But people kind of jumped on me right early in the year, because I said that I would take Jaden Daniels over Lamar Jackson right now. And people say, "You are outside of your mind. Lamar Jackson is a 2-time MVP, possibly going to win the MVP this year. And you're talking about you're going to take a rookie over Lamar Jackson." Look, man, I've seen a lot of football, man. And what I'm seeing this young man do, he's more poised than Lamar Jackson is right now. And how long has Lamar Jackson been in the league? Well, long enough to be a 2-time MVP. This guy is unbelievable. He's just, and let me get deep on you guys. Let me tell you what's happening with Jaden Daniels. The same thing that's happening with Jaden Daniels is also happening with Sam Darnold. We talked earlier about coaching, and what's happening with Sam Darnold and Jaden Daniels is their coaches, Cliff Kingsbury gets credit for this, they are giving them the answers. What are you talking about, Tom the Bomb? Okay, if you know you're going to have a test at school or whatever, and somebody gives you the test ahead of time, and they say, these are the answers to the test, how do you think you're going to do on that test?
You're going to do excellent.
Dr. Lauren says you're going to do excellent. Listen, Jaden Daniels is getting the answers to the test before the test. Sam Darnold is getting the answers to the test before the test. Well, how are they doing that? It's coaching. They're saying, You go here on your first look, you go here on your second look, you go here on your third look. And then that's what they practice. They go in and say, you go here on the first look, you go here on the second look, you go here on the third look. If you see this defensive setup, the play is designed to go to the number 1 option, but if you see this setup, we need you to go to the number 3 option, even though the number 3 option is not the main option. But if you see this defensive set in front of you, it's going to cover the number 1 and the number 2 option. So you got to go to the number 3 option. That's what I mean when I say that Jayden Daniels and Sam Darnold are getting the answers to the test before the test. And that's coaching. That's all coaching. Well, it's coaching, and then you got to have somebody that's cool enough and smart enough and brilliant enough and poised enough to pull it off. That's what Joe Montana did. That's what Tom Brady did. That's what Peyton Manning. People talk about Peyton Manning. One of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Peyton Manning was like an encyclopedia. He understood what's going on. They're playing chess instead of checkers. It's not check, it's chess. And Daniels and Sam Darnold are getting the answers to the test before the test. They know what to do. They see the look. They say, okay, the ball's supposed to go here, but because they're in this defense, I'm going to go here. That's what's going on. And it was a very, very interesting game. The Commanders tried to give it back. Let's talk about the Commanders' offensive line. Let's start off with all the penalties. First of all, I'm here in the DMV with a lot of Washington Commander fans, and they're watching the game and they're going, I can't believe they're calling all these penalties on there. That's not a penalty. That's not holding. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Man, listen, that offensive line of the Commanders, they're I don't know if they're just tired or they're lazy, but these guys were holding. They were jumping off sides. Listen, the refs were not going against the Commanders. It's the Commanders. The Commanders did their best. The only reason this game was close was because of all the penalties and the mistakes the Commanders made in the first half. Now, let's talk about the good thing. The second half, they got the second half kickoff, and they had 2 drives. One drive of 13 minutes, and another one for 11 minutes. That's unbelievable. That's football gold. That's football gold. I was so shocked and proud of the Commanders, of the way they came out and controlled the clock, used up the time of possession. They went back to the running. Now, let me tell you something else too. Okay, so the Commanders have had a lot of injuries on their offensive line. So one of the announcers says, they seem like they're running the ball better with the backups than they were with the starters that got hurt. Well, I've tried to explain this guy to you. Maybe let me explain it again. Listen, when you're an offensive lineman, Lori, if I call a running play, I get to hit you. But if I call a pass play, you get to hit me. So what do you think the offensive linemen like to do?
Have running plays.
They like to have running plays because we'd much rather I hit you than you hit me. See, every time we have a passing play, I'm backing up. When we have a running play, I'm coming after you. So they get the backups and they start running the ball, and all of a sudden, they're moving the ball because they're running the ball. Washington it cannot neglect their running game. And at this time of the year, once the playoffs start, the wild card for the Washington Commanders is Jayden Daniels. He's going to have to run more. He's going to have to run more. And I know Tom the Bomb is always talking about your quarterback shouldn't be running like that. But for the Commanders to win, they got to run more. Let's talk about the Falcons real quick. The Falcons coach blew this game. Raheem Morris, and we talk about this too. Raheem Morris is an awesome NFL defensive coordinator. And I hate to say this because he's a brother, but Raheem Morris is not a head coach. A head coach and a coordinator is 2 different things. As a head coach, you have to be able to delegate. When you're an offensive or defensive coordinator, all your focus is on that. Raheem Morris is a fantastic defensive coordinator, not a good head coach. The time management of that clock in that overtime in that last drive, you got 2 timeouts, you hit a pass down and you don't call time. Wait a minute, let me just say this. How does that game end and you don't use all your timeouts and you're the Falcons? That field goal was just too far. It was just too far. If you call your timeouts, You save another 18, maybe 20 seconds. You can get another 5 or 10 yards because that kick at regulation, it was dead down the middle. It was just 5 or 6 yards short. Man, that's coaching. That's on the head coach, man. I mean, I keep telling you guys, man, in the NFL, more than Major League Baseball, more than NBA basketball, coaching matters. And the reason it matters so much is because you have to make adjustments on the fly almost immediately. And then you got to be able to convey those adjustments to your players, and then they got to receive it and execute it. And that's what coaching is about. And that's what's happening in Minnesota. Minnesota is doing that better than any team in the NFL. So it's a great, great, great win for the Commanders. It's a terrible loss for the Falcons, and I think it's going to cost them being in the playoffs. Let's move on. Let's get to tonight's game. Tonight's game, we've got, let's see what we got going. Tonight's game, we've got, we got at 8:15 p.m. on the ESPN, we got the Detroit Lions taking on my San Francisco 49ers, and this will be fun to watch. We tell you guys that don't be betting on football and sports, but hey, if you're gonna not listen to me, take the Lions. Okay, okay. Let's get to our Week 18 picks. We just started off. I told you I'm taking the Lions over my 49ers. The next week we got the Chargers versus the Raiders. Sorry, James. Take the Chargers in this one. Then we got the Bengals versus the Steelers. Woo-hoo-hoo. This will be the second best game. Could be the best game. It's going to be, if you only watch 2 games next week, here's the 2 games you got to watch. The Bengals versus the Steelers and Detroit versus the Vikings. Those are the 2 games that you cannot miss. Now, the Detroit and Viking game, we're going to get to that. That's the Sunday night game. It's going to be at 8:20 p.m. So I'm going to give you my pick on that in the end. But if you only watch 2 games, these are the 2 games that you cannot miss. The Bengals and the Steelers. This game is going to be so physical. This game, both the Steelers and the Bengals are fighting for their playoff lives, okay? And Joe Burrow is rolling. The Steelers have hit the meat of their schedule, so I knew the Steelers were going to drop games down because their schedule was backloaded with their division games. So they're going to, when you got to play Baltimore and Cleveland and Cincinnati, you're going to come out with some L's in that, okay? So Tom the Bomb. Tom Baum's going to take the Bengals in this one, even though the Steelers are the better team. Make no mistake about it. The Steelers are the better team. They got a better defense. They know their script. They stay on script. So because of that, the Steelers should win this game. But Tom the Bomb is taking the Bengals because when Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are hitting, like I told you guys, they can beat any team in the NFL, especially in one game. All righty. Our next game is my San Francisco 49ers versus the Cardinals, the Arizona Cardinals. It's easy for me to take my 49ers here, but Kyler Murray gives running quarterbacks give the 49ers trouble. They really, really do. And the Arizona Cardinals are a terrible football team. And because of injuries this year, my San Francisco 49ers are a terrible football team. So, my heart wants to say the 49ers, but I know that the 49ers don't play well against running quarterbacks. So I'm going to take the Cardinals and the Arizona Cardinals in this one. All right, our next game is the Carolina Panthers versus the Falcons. The Falcons have to win this game. They will win this game. And I didn't get a chance to talk a little bit about this, but, the Falcons started a rookie quarterback and Michael Penix Jr. And let me tell you something. They are a totally different team with Michael Penix Jr. back there instead of Kirk Cousins. This kid adds a dimension. He takes the top off the defense. He has a great arm. He's accurate. Man, Kirk Cousins, I guarantee you, Kirk Cousins will not be in Atlanta next year. This is Michael Penix Jr. team, and he was impressive in this. Impressive, Skywalker. He was impressive in this law. I forgot I should have been mentioning that, but take the Falcons in this one and watch Michael Penix Jr. just take off. And next year, he's going to soar as well, barring injuries. Then we got Mother Wiggs, Kansas City Chiefs versus the Broncos. Now, Kansas City have already come out and said that they're not playing their starters. Michael Jordan will not be playing in this game. The Broncos have to win this game. The Broncos need this game to get into the playoffs. Now, let me tell you what the dynamics is behind this. First of all, it's a division rival, and they play the Chiefs tough anyway. But I'm going to tell you why the Broncos will win this game. Because if the Broncos win this game, the Cincinnati Bengals are out of the playoffs. And if the Broncos lose this game and the Bengals beat the Steelers, then the Bengals are in the playoffs. And let me tell you who Mother Wiggs champs don't want to play. The Chiefs don't want to play the Cincinnati Bengals. They played once this year. The Chiefs won 24-25. Uh, uh, Joe Burrow is the one quarterback that has a winning record against Michael Jordan, against Patrick Mahomes. Chiefs don't want no parts of the Cincinnati Bengals. They don't want no part. Get your hands out of my pocket. What you talking about? They don't want no parts. Ain't nobody coming to see you, Otis. they don't want no parts of the Bengals, man. That's why the Broncos are going to win this game. And people are saying, well, they're going to rest Patrick Mahomes, and they're going to rest this guy, and they're going to rest Isaiah Pacheco, and they're going to rest these guys. And they are. But they rested them because they don't want the Bengals in the playoffs. So take the Broncos over Mother Wiggs Chiefs. Mother Wig, your Chiefs get an L this week. They're going to take it, but it's an L. They laying down. They laying down. Take the Broncos in this one. Our next game is the Seattle Seahawks versus the Rams. The Rams have already clinched, but they'll beat the Seahawks anyway. Take the Rams in this one. We got the Houston Texans versus the Titans. I think from pride and pride alone, the Texans will get up and play. I'm going to take the Texans over the Titans. Then you got the New York Giants versus the Eagles with Saquon Barkley coming in for the record. Take the Eagles in this one. I'm just going to be nice and just say take the Eagles in this one. Then you got the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Indianapolis Colts, another divisional game. They play hard, but I'll take the Colts in this one. I like what Jonathan Taylor's doing. And then the game that you cannot miss, okay, that's not right. Okay, yeah. The game that you cannot miss is the Vikings versus the Lions. Tom the Bomb's going to take the Vikings in this. Woo! Remember how the Lions was everybody's sweetheart? They was everybody's guaranteed to be in the Super Bowl for they represent the NFC. Tom the Bomb is taking the Vikings over the Lions. Tom the Bomb is taking the Vikings in this one. That's the game you don't want to miss. And then the granddaddy of them all, this is like Michigan versus Ohio State. You know, if you don't win any game, you got to win this one. We got the Washington Commanders versus the Dallas Cowboys. And we know how thrilling that first game was and how heart-wrenching of a loss it was for the Commanders. The Commanders are in the playoffs now, but the Commanders got to win this game. They got to go in this game. The Commanders have to win this game for next year, okay? They need to let the Cowboys know who they are and that they're coming, okay? I'm taking the Commanders over the Cowboys in this one. And then we got the Bears versus the Packers. The Bears never beat the Packers. They never beat the Packers. Let me tell you something. The Bears beat the Packers as often as Tom the Bomb beats Lauren. Yeah, that's about how much chance they got. They got no chance. I have no chance against her. I'm the Bears this week. Lauren is the Packers. Take the Packers. Everybody that knows us says, take the Packers. Then we got the Miami Dolphins versus the Jets. Take the Dolphins over the Jets. Then you got the New Orleans Saints and the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers need this game. Take the Buccaneers. Then you got the Buffalo Bills versus the New England Patriots. Patriots played hard all year long. Take the Bills. And then you got the Cleveland Browns versus the Baltimore Ravens. Now, it's really, really easy to say take the Ravens in this one, and you should take the Ravens with this one. But this is an interdivision game, and the Cleveland Browns play the Ravens as tough as anybody. So take the Ravens, but if the Browns somehow step up and win this game, don't be surprised. But let me tell you why. I'll tell you why it won't happen. Because like Gus mentioned a couple of weeks ago, the Ravens have been saving Derrick Henry so he could be fresh at the end of the year. For the last 2 weeks in a row, Derrick Henry has gotten 25 plus carries, which means he's rushing for almost 150 yards or more. And whatever team Derrick Henry's on, when he goes for over 100 yards and 25 plus carries, they do not lose. You got Lamar trying to win another MVP, and I think that may be more important than a Super Bowl. I'm sure they would deny that, but that's what I think. I could be wrong, okay? So take the Ravens in that for this reason. All righty. Okay, Meg, let's get to the next. All righty. Hey, Jimmy Carter, our 39th president and Nobel Peace Prize winner, died a no-frills and a steel-wheel Southern governor and gentleman was elected president in 1976 and went on to extraordinary post-presidential life that that like I mentioned included winning the Nobel Peace Prize. Died Sunday at his home in Plains, Georgia at 100 years old. He was the oldest living US president of all time. He had been in hospice care and had been treated for melanoma skin cancer with tumors that had spread to his liver and his brain. His wife, Rosalind, had passed in 2023 at the age of 96. They were married for 77 years, the longest presidential marriage in US history. If you're going to take advice on somebody that's been married, that's a married couple, you might want to listen to somebody that's been married for 77 years, okay? You don't want to take advice from somebody that's been married 5 times. Don't do that. That's not a good plan, okay? President Carter wasn't just a former president, but he was a hero. He was a hero to many people. And unlike a lot of politicians who talk about peace, President Carter made it his business and a lifelong calling as a believer in our Lord Jesus Christ. Rest in peace. Well done, thy good and faithful servant, to a life well lived. We honor, we salute you on the Tom the Bomb Show, President Jimmy Carter, our 39th President of the United States. And we had some other sad news. We woke up Christmas Eve to a bad report. Evelyn Ann Young, born on May 2nd, 1922, passed on Christmas Eve of 2024 at the age of 102. Our dear beloved Aunt Evelyn. Boy, I could go on and on about this amazing, tender, and loving woman of God. I loved how funny she was. I loved trying to make her laugh and to shock her. But when you've been around for 102 years, there's not much there's not much that's going to surprise her. As she got older, she was still sharp, but she would tend to repeat herself. So she would ask the same things over. One of the holiday jokes was, Aunt Evelyn would say, "Who's bringing the ham?" And then we would all walk through the house saying, "Who's bringing the ham?" So she would kind of have the tendency to repeat herself, and like a lot of people that we know, she would ask about Troy like 50 times. "How's Troy?" And then I'd tell her how Troy was doing, and then a few minutes later she'd say, "How's Troy?" And then I'd tell her how Troy was doing, and then she'd say, "How's Troy?" so then I would start making up stuff, just to make it interesting, because you just roll with it. And I say, "Well, Troy's in trouble, and he robbed a 7-Eleven, and we need money for a lawyer because he's in trouble with the law." And then she would go, "No, he's not." And then she'd say, "Did I ask you that before?" And I say, "Yes, ma'am." And she'd say, "Well, when you get to be 100, you better hope that the only problems you have is not being able to remember things." And I was like, "You are absolutely correct." She was such a wonderful lady. She lives a beautiful life. 102 years. How about that? Lori don't want to, but I'm bringing Lori in, and I'm going to make Lori speak because this is her dear aunt as well. Go ahead, Lori.
Just to say one thing, that the life and legacy of love that Aunt Evelyn has left as a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a friend, it's so tremendous. She was an educator. She taught elementary school children in their formative years for over 50 years in Mount Vernon Public Schools. She impacted so many lives, and she was just beloved and loved. She delighted in her students, in her colleagues, in mentoring young teachers, in her friends, in her family, in her children, in her grandchildren. And the picture that we have highlighted of her in the center is there at 100 years old in November 22 with her I voted sticker on it, because she lived through the legacy of what it took for Black Americans in this country to get the vote.
You know, I used to love
So
when she would say, we say, Aunt Evelyn, how old are you? And she'd say, oh, I was born in May 2nd, 1922. You do the math.
a true teacher response. You do the math. And the math is after 102 years, she has entered into eternal rest in her crown of glory. And while we will miss her, we just celebrate having had the opportunity to be blessed by her life and her presence, her love and her friendship, her laughter, her joy, her delightful generosity for 102 years. And so we're really, really grateful to the Lord for her presence.
So we'll be celebrating her wake on Thursday, and her homegoing is going to be this Friday. So we'll be moving out again. But man, it's just a wonderful, beautiful life. One of the, we talk about on the Tom the Bomb show, what truly, how you win and lose in life truly matters. And there's a way to live the life. So just like with President Carter and Aunt Evelyn, well done, that good and faithful servant. I get great pleasure knowing that that I'm going to be with these people forever. That this life that we're living right now is just temporary. It's like the preseason. This life that we are currently living is just like the preseason. And all you got to do to make the team is to confess it with your mouth and believe it in your heart that Jesus died on the cross and that he rose on the third day. And if you do that, you are on the team. And that's a team they can't. It's like when they say when you make the Hall of Fame, you're in there forever. Well, when you make this team, you're there forever. In Hebrews in the Bible, it talks about the heroes of faith. What we have to understand is the heroes of faith is your family members, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 generations that are already in heaven, and they're cheering you on right now in heaven. So the heroes in faith that's in the Bible, those are your relatives that are praying for you and cheering you on from heaven. So I get great comfort in that, knowing that we are going to be with our loved ones forever. And once we get on that team, we'll be on that team forever. Hey, gang, that's our show for today. We didn't have trivia, but we did have our poll questions. You guys know what the poll questions was about who you like as the MVP. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Saquon Barkley, Joe Burrow, Sam Darnold, and Jared Goff. Who do you guys like? Okay, for your MVP. And then the second poll question is, should the Eagles let Saquon go for the record against his old team, the New York Giants? Lori says, absolutely, Adrian. Absolutely. Absolutely. All righty. So get your votes in on our poll questions. Like I said, who's your NFL MVP? Again, Josh Allen of the Bills, Lamar Jackson of the Ravens, Saquon Barkley of the Eagles, or Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals, Sam Darnold of the Minnesota Vikings, or Jared Goff. We want to hear from you guys. So you guys, like I say, send that to info@tomthebombsports.com. Hey, don't go ahead. You want to say something?
The one thing that'll be really interesting is the games that are played this weekend and the performances of those 6 individuals in those games really may determine the MVP outcome.
I love it when she gets involved. I love it. I get excited about that. Hey, don't forget to check out our website at www.tomthebombsports.com. And you can contact us by email again for those votes at info@tomthebombsports.com. Hey, for dynamic and in-depth sports analysis and highlights for sports in the DMV and more, check out the Washington Sports Dens on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern on WBGR with my main man, Felix Bassey. His future's so bright, he should be wearing shades, man. Hey, listen. Hey, man, time flies when you're having fun. We're out of time here, but we sure do appreciate and thank you for spending your time with us. We don't take that for granted. We thank you so much for that. Listen, may the gates of heaven open and pour an abundance of blessings down on you where there won't be room enough to contain it. Remember, if you want it, you gotta confess it with your mouth, and believe it in your heart that Jesus died on the cross and he rose on the third day, not a Thursday, right, Lori?
Right.
Just for you. Just for you. All right. Remember, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. And hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. God bless you. We'll see you on this same bat time, on this same bat station. Good evening. Enjoy the games. Happy New Year. As we'll be focusing with the new year coming up. I'm so excited about what we're going to be doing in 2025. But like I said, we're going to be focusing on vision, and we're going to continue with leadership. We're celebrating 4 years on the air on the Tom the Bomb Show. Woohoo! Thank you, guys. Don't forget to go to YouTube and like and subscribe for us. That we appreciate that. We need you to do that. But I'm really excited. When we see you guys, it's going to be the new year 2025, and I'm going to lay out everything that we're going to be doing on the Tom the Bomb Show. We got some exciting things coming up. The word is going to be coming forth in 2025. We got heavy hitters lined up for you guys with the word's going to be coming. We got some top-notch players. Our own East St. Louis and Kellen Winslow Sr. is going to be joining us in the new year. So we got some top-notch guests coming. So you guys don't want to miss us in the new year. Happy New Year. Happy holidays. Lori?
Be blessed.
Be blessed. God bless you. Tom the Bomb out.
Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine. Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine.
Well, I'm coming out with a word in my mouth, filled with excitement to say what it's all about. For a long time, I've held this water in, let the floodgates open, let the miracles begin. I've prayed, and I've gone back 7 times, look again, cause the miracles are mine, stir the water. I'm about to step in like the pool of Bethesda, let the healing begin.
Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine. Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine.
It took a minute to get my composure right. For years it seems like I've been fighting for my life. Confusing times when my days resemble nights. But now this eagle is about to take flight. I soar out of darkness to its revelation light. Though the waves are rough, I step out my comfort zone to walk on water, cause I know I'm not alone. God's got my back and reminds me I'm his own. His words are sweet in my mouth, they taste like a honeycomb. And faith has opened up my eyes. I've been through the fire, tested and tried. As I study God's word, I finally realize that my purpose I have to visualize, to bring the unseen from the realm of under night until I walk into the fullness of a purpose-filled life, cause I'm light. Yes, I am light, and I shine bright. I am an investment of the Lord Jesus Christ. Not only am I light, I am salt. When I enter in, I add flavor to it all. I bring truth, there's no dispute. Jesus is the vine, and in him I take root. I am the head, and not the tail. I'm an overcomer made free to prevail. A new design, a special kind. Ambassador followed by wonders and signs. I am light, and I give signs.